Welcome back. We'll start with the answer to the trivia stumper. As you read in Friday's news, Vladimir Klitschko has been a world heavyweight champion for 9 consecutive years. Sully, name the only boxer to hold the title longer.
I was wrong, but it was Joe Louis.
It was Joe Louis. Joe Louis held the title for 11 years, 8 months, and 8 days, successfully defending his title 25 times. A legend in boxing. We're going to go now to another legend in boxing. Our own man, Tim Graham, the former president, by the way, of the Boxing Writers Association of America, is in Las Vegas covering Mayweather-Pacquiao. Mr. Graham, how are things in the desert?
Things are fine, but I just want to remind Jerry that the answer to that trivia question was in my story. So thanks for reading it, Jerry.
I did read it. It was a long story, and by the way, we won a Pulitzer last week, and Tim Graham's front page story today on boxing is that level of writing and reporting. If the Joe Louis item got past me, you know, a little early in my day too, but it was just a fabulous piece of work, Tim. You should be very proud.
Thank you, Jerry.
Go have a
Thank
beer.
You. It's a sad thing to write, actually. You know, I love boxing, and I have a passion for it. I lived in Las Vegas for 5 years, and I've covered a lot of the big fights since the mid-'90s. And once I started covering the NFL, I fell out of touch, and it's easy to fall out of touch with this sport. So even somebody like me who is in it, I mean, I was in it deep, and I knew pretty much anybody involved in the sport and have their numbers in my Rolodex and can get them on the phone at a moment's notice or what have you. But I don't know who's in it anymore. And it was interesting to me that even Floyd Mayweather, he said the other day that he doesn't know who's in boxing anymore, and he owns a boxing promotional company. So it's sad to the depths that the sport has gone when it comes to its relevance in America anymore.
Tim, like you said, you've been to many of these championship fights in Vegas. How do you sense the build-up to this one? Does it feel like the old days almost? We've been waiting so long for this particular matchup.
It's a little bit of a trick question, Mike, because yes, it's in Las Vegas they call these tent fights because the site that's holding the fight will actually have a tent out in the parking lot or something or someplace on the property for the media because there's just such a crush of people coming that they actually put one of those temporary tents up. And this is the first so-called tent fight in Las Vegas since we think Tyson Holyfield 2. So this is a big fight. The attention is there. The media is in town. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this fight. It's going to set records for the financials. It's $100 for a pay-per-view. Floyd Mayweather has been hinting that he's going to make upwards of $200 million for this fight. It's going to smash records. But excuse me, the desert air is getting to me here. Hang on one second. Yeah, and I'll blame the desert for this, for my dry throat this early afternoon. But the vibe really isn't there because the fight sold out so quickly. There were only 500 tickets available to the general public. They sold out in 3 minutes. There are 10 closed circuit locations here in Las Vegas. Those sold out almost immediately and have been sold out for almost 2 weeks. At $150 a pop, by the way. So the signage and all the things that you would normally see for a big event like, you know what it reminds me of, and Jerry was there for this, when the Super Bowl was in New York. Yes, the Super Bowl is the huge event, but when you were in New York, it just didn't feel like it was Super Bowl week because New York is a city that it's bigger than the Super Bowl. It kind of feels that way here because they haven't really needed to bang the drum to sell tickets for this event or to let people know that it's going on because everything's sold out.
Yeah, Tim, you did write that it's more an event than a boxing match, and I have to wonder, I haven't been following boxing, but these are guys that are well past their prime, a fight that should have happened 6 years ago. Mayweather's 38. Why should we take this seriously as a great fight when they're not in their prime and its significance is more, as you say, as a spectacle?
I will give an example, and I'll say Ali Frazier 3. And those were two guys who were well past their prime, a fight that nobody really cared about heading up to the fight. The Thrilla in Manila, they had to put it in the Philippines because there really wasn't all that much attention or nobody really wanted to spend the money to stage the fight anywhere else. and it turned out to be one of the greatest boxing matches of all time. Some people think it is the #1 finest boxing match to ever take place because they were a little past their prime. And maybe Floyd Mayweather has lost a little bit, and what that does is that leaves him more susceptible to being hit. And Mayweather is a slick fighter, and he's considered the best on the planet, but he's a little too slick for some people, maybe reminiscent of Roy Jones Jr. Or Pernell Whitaker. Defense first, he doesn't make the best fights because he's too good. And so now you have an aggressive fighter, a left-handed fighter too, which might make things a little more interesting. So Pacquiao comes into this fight with maybe more of a puncher's chance to do some damage, and I don't think that's going to be the case in regard to. I think Mayweather's going to be a little a cut above and too tough to hit, but there's that chance that maybe Mayweather has turned that corner towards being just slow enough. Just a little past his prime, that this could be a great display.
And we just came off an NFL season where the biggest issue was domestic violence with Ray Rice and others, Hardy, Peterson. Floyd Mayweather has 5 battery offenses in the last 15 years where he's been found guilty. Should we be glorifying what I would say is the face of domestic violence in sports?
You know, I think, no, first, no, we should never glorify that at all. I think covering this fight or talking about this fight doesn't necessarily glorify that. I think we need to be mindful of it, and it is a good opportunity to discuss it and to bring it out and to let people know that Floyd Mayweather has done these things. And I have a story going in tomorrow's paper. It'll be on the front page. His publicist is from Buffalo. Her name is Kelly Swanson, and it's like I said, it's her name. It's a she. It's a female. And I asked her some of these questions about working for Floyd Mayweather and having to deal with all these things. She needs to, her job essentially is to put him in a position to look good in the media at a time when domestic violence is a hot button issue in sports, and rightfully so. But this is a weird situation with Mayweather because these charges have been out there for a long time. They go back 14 years, but it's significant now because this is the first mainstream boxing match we've had in a long time. It's transcending, it's crossing over, and so media outlets that haven't really addressed Floyd Mayweather, the wife beater, are now doing it, and a lot of people are coming out and saying, well, why are we doing this now? How come why have we given him a free pass? Well, it's because boxing is irrelevant and because nobody pays attention to boxing, and now this fight's here, and it's time to address these types of things. And for that matter, and for that, I'm not covering the fight as a as a reporter. I'm going to be writing columns off of it. So I will go ahead and say that I hope Floyd Mayweather loses. I don't like him as a human. I hope he gets destroyed by Manny Pacquiao on a personal level. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Floyd Mayweather's going to win the fight.
All right, Tim, I was just going to ask you that. I appreciate you anticipating my last question. Keep up the great work out in Vegas. We'll read your stuff again tomorrow and follow your live scoring on Twitter. That's Tim Graham, live from Las Vegas. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
And we'll be back. NHL NBA playoff talk coming right up on the Bucky and Sully Show.